I'm Heather from Here Booktubes, and today is my February wrap-up. I read 30 books in February. I DNF'd 3 of them, and so I'm going to talk about 27. This was kind of a weird reading month for me. There were a bunch of days where I didn't read at all, and then other days where I finished like 3 different things in that day. Shouldn't take us too long. All the books are listed in the description. If they're available on Kindle Unlimited, they are marked. They are also linked, and there's also a brief description just in case you can't remember which book it was. Very first book of the month was Haven, which is Beard and Bondage #1 by Rebekah Weatherspoon. I give this book 4 stars. I read it for the Taboo book club specifically, although it was already on my list for my reading vlog for this month. I did really enjoy it. So basically, she is being chased through the woods by a madman, and she shows up at this guy's cabin and he rescues her. And so all of the romantic suspense elements and the murder and all of the things are over like in the first chapter, which is very odd for a romantic suspense book. Normally you have this big build up and then about 80-90% there's the altercation, the conflict, and they win. That's not how this went. So this book was really a lot about grief because the man who was chasing her, they had already killed her brother. And then you have the feds who are just jerk faces that kind of separate them. So he rescues her, they have a real connection, and then she goes back to her job for like 3 months or whatever, and then she comes back and is like, I need to see you, I just need to know, like, is this a thing? And they have like a week together, and then she leaves again. This is, I think, the part that made it not be 5 stars for me, was that second separation. They still weren't calling each other or texting each other or anything. They weren't communicating at all. It was just, we done. And then she comes back and is like, and they get married. I was like, all right, so you only spent like a week together. Like, I would have found it much more believable if the second separation, they were still in communication and growing as a couple. That being said, this has BDSM elements that were done really well. This has a good couple who are dealing with their own issues and doing well. I just would have liked a little bit more communication. Then I read Deeper by Rilzy. This is basically an extended epilogue of Go Deep, which is my favorite friends to lovers book. I gave this 4 stars. It's their wedding. It was sweet. And that was kind of it. Then I read The Rescue, a Valentine's Day novella by Twyla Turner. I give this 4 stars. This was a Black woman being rescued by a cowboy because her car was stuck in a flash flood, and I found it very interesting because she didn't want to, she would almost rather stay with the flood than be rescued by this unknown white cowboy in the pickup truck with the spotlight and all the things. And there is a racist conflict in this book, so if you wanted to avoid that, you know. But it's basically them having forced proximity on his ranch. Then I read Just One More by Jody Slaughter. I gave this 4 stars. This was another Valentine's Day novella. This is a doomed Uber ride, brings them together on Valentine's Day. They both are big Valentine's Day enthusiasts, and they basically lose themselves in each other for a whole weekend. Then I read The Healer, which is 7 Sins MC #2 by Jessica Gaziella. I gave this book 5 stars. This is her paranormal motorcycle club with demons specifically, and the demons, they want to go back to hell, but also if you find a mate, then you can't. And this one was the president of the motorcycle club, the leader of the demons, the oldest of this group of demons. Something happens to one of the demons, and demons heal incredibly quickly, and they're not healing. And so he goes and he kidnaps a nurse, and then he has a romance with her. And this also sets up like more stories in this world, and I just want it. I want it so badly. There's like 3 stories already that I'm just like, I want them. Like, forget all of your other series, all of your other plans, write these for me. Then I have A Tale of Two Cities, a Valentine's Day novella by Alexandra Warren. This is, I gave 5 stars. This one was so sweet. All of Alexandra Warren's Tale of Two Cities holiday novellas are one person from this city, one person from this city, and they come together and they have a long distance relationship, and it ends for a happy for now. This one is an NBA player, and this girl slides into his Instagram DMs and he like flies her out, and they have a weekend and they have this huge connection, and he was so freaking sweet. He was like the sweetest man, and that's really, really, really why I love this one so much. Then I read Still Standing, which is Wild West MC #1 by Kristen Ashley. I gave this 4 stars. Basically, I disliked the first 70% of this book. I read it because it's Kristen Ashley and I had faith that she would bring it around for me. And that was true. I really enjoyed the last 30%. The last 30%, I was tearing up. I was all emotional. I was like, oh, my babies. But that first 70%, I just felt like a lot of the things were unnecessary. I also felt like there was a lot of formulaic things in here that I've seen in many Kristen Ashley books before, and it kind of got on my nerves a little bit. But mainly, like, he's an alpha hero, he's a motorcycle club president, and she just like shows up at their club because there is a bad man in town who is using her. There were a lot of conflicts that I was just not okay with the way he handled it. There's one specific thing where he this is going to be a trigger warning situation basically, so it's also a little bit spoilery, but I'm just gonna tell you, so skip ahead to the next book if you want to avoid it. So basically his daughter is almost raped and she's like trying to get him to call the police, and he like throws her across the room into the wall and stuff, and he does regret it. He doesn't handle it well right away. I really felt like him like being like, all right, we already talked about this, was a mistake. Later on in the book, in that last 30%, it does get dealt with a little bit more, but he does do that. Is that ever okay? No, it's not. Would my husband ever lay a finger on me? No. If something happened or almost happened to our little girl, would I want to see him like that? No. Like, he would lose his mind. So in the one sense, it's like, it's hard, right? Because it is not justifiable. Also, when there are extreme situations and emotions like that, you can understand people not reacting correctly. You can understand them not doing the right thing, not being in control. It's just, for me, it was very hard because on the one hand, it was like, I understand that you could lose your mind in this situation. And also, what you did was not okay, and then the way you handled the aftermath was not great either. And it wasn't until later where we really got like the idea that you feel complete and total remorse about this. So it just, yeah, like, I don't know. I would basically say, if you're not already a big fan of Kristen Ashley, her style, her alphas, this is not the book for you. This is not the book to try Kristen Ashley with. It's not. Then I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is Brown Sisters #2 by Talia Hibbert. I gave this 5 stars. While this is a traditional publishing romance and it does tend to be a little bit formulaic in that they do have that 3rd act breakup, they have all the angst building up to it, 3rd act break up, get together, yada yada. I really could have done without that. I felt like it could have been resolved in a different way without them breaking up. However, it still got 5 stars for me because Talia Hibbert's writing is just so delightful. It's so quotable and funny and nuanced and clever and witty. I really, really, really enjoy, not only for what she has her characters say for dialogue and their banter, but also even her descriptions and the things that she says. It's just, I feel like it is just incredibly well done in that way, even if I could have done without the angsty breakup situation. If you don't know anything about this, Danny is basically against love. She is bi. I really loved showing her relationship with her ex, who was another woman. I really enjoyed that that was in there. And she is a professor and she's a little bit absent-minded, and Zaph is just like the sweetest man, and he has anxiety. He is obsessed with Danny. He just loves her. and then they fake date for his charity, and it's just so freaking cute. Content warning for loss of family members, but it was delightful. Then I read Tokyo Ghoul, which was by Sui Ishida. It's volume 1. I gave it 4 stars. It's a manga, and it's kind of like a horror-ish. Nope. Basically, ghouls are like zombies, kind of, except they're not, and like they still have cognitive powers and stuff, and I think they're mostly born, but then there ends up being something where in order to save his life, they do an organ transplant, and that organ transplant was from a ghoul, a ghoul, and now he's like half ghoul. I want to continue the series. I was intrigued. Then I read the life-changing manga of Tidying Up, a magical story by Marie Kondo. I gave this 5 stars. It was really cute. There was actually even like a little love story type thing in it. It's about tidying up, decluttering, organizing your life. It, in my opinion, is not a replacement for the book. You're not going to get the change in mindset and the nuggets from the manga, but it's a nice addition. Then I read Tale of the Drunken Sword by Jeannie Lin. This I gave 4 stars. This was a very short story, about 30 pages, and it was about I don't even remember, some sort of Asian warrior. I don't remember where it was. He's a warrior, he has a sword, he has the thing. It's just, he's drunk, he's trying to fight these demons and stuff. I don't know. I like don't even know how to explain it, but it was really enjoyable. I really liked it. Then I read A Fake Girlfriend for Chinese New Year, which is Holiday with the Wongs #3 by Jackie Lau. This I gave 4 stars. It was really cute. You had a fake dating romance in the hopes of not being set up for a blind date by his family, and I haven't read the 2 books that came before this, but I plan on reading them when the respective holidays roll around. One is Thanksgiving, one is Christmas, and then you have Chinese New Year, and then you have a Valentine's Day one as well. They're basically friends to lovers, and there was some pining on her end, but it was good. Then I read Tempest, which is Old West #3 by Beverly Jenkins. This is my first Beverly Jenkins book. I gave it 4 stars. You have a mail order bride going to a doctor in Wyoming, maybe, and there were a lot of historical events that were referenced and injustices that were referenced, and this doctor is a single parent. He has a 6-year-old daughter. I really think I would have enjoyed it more if 3 things had been different. This was delightful. The banter was good. I understand why people loved Beverly Jenkins. 1, I would have liked it better if the dad was a better dad before he got a new wife. Like, there were things he could have fixed, I really felt like, and he didn't. 2, I would have liked it better if they had had more on-page couple time, more conversations, more sexy time, just more coupleness. And 3, the final conflict was like all in one paragraph, and it was very odd. But I will read another Beverly Jenkins. I actually plan on reading her contemporary because I don't tend to reach for historical, and I did like it. Then I read Nothing But the Wolf in Me. I gave this 3 stars. This is by, I didn't write down, it's by Nikki Clark. So this is basically a black love werewolf romance, and there were a couple of things that knocked it down for me. It was enjoyable. I think it's worth reading. I don't know about this. Werewolves are not real. And you're still the man inside the dog. That doesn't mean I want the dog to use his tongue sexually. It really kind of weirded me out. And then also she fought the mate connection a ton, and that always annoys me. Then I read Taking Megan. This is Disciples number 5 by Izzy Sweet and Sean Moriarty. This is a husband and wife author duo. I gave this 5 stars. This is a reread for me. I love this Mafia series. It's very insta-love, over-the-top, obsessive. I see you, I want you, I'm gonna marry you and put a baby in you within a week type of series. And I love him. This one, this guy gets released from prison. He goes and does a job for the family, which is breaking up a opponent's wedding. And he steals the bride and marries her. And I'm such a sucker for that trope. And I just loved it. That's how I discovered the series, was I read this book and then I went back and read all the other ones. Well, somebody had told me that the next book actually came out, so I wanted to reread this one, which I did. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Just so good, so over the top. I will tell you, the violence in these books is like the most violent thing I've ever read in my life. You can skip it. It's pretty easy to skip because it's not just random violence. It's like, all right, if they're gonna torture the guy, they are gonna torture the guy, and you might not want to read it. You might want to skip that scene. So violent. The violence in this book is like skinning somebody alive and stuff like that. So there's a lot. But really enjoyed it. And then I read Trapping Sophia, which is Disciples number 6 by Izzy Sweet and Sean Moriarty. This is the new book. I gave it 4 stars. There was a lot of angst. She was like, no, you broke my heart that one time when you turned away from me, and now I'm just like, I can't be with you. No, take me home. She's the police chief's daughter. Basically, he wasn't allowed to have her because she was the police chief's daughter. She gets rescued from human trafficking, sexual trafficking in book 4 or something like that. So with her friend, who was another one of the main characters. So we've seen her story building over the last few books, but it's their sniper guy and the police chief's daughter. The police chief is now dead. He can finally have her. He's obsessed. There's definitely dubious consent, not only in the series, but specifically in this book, because they're like, I see you, I want you, I really don't care what you have to say about it. So if that's not the dynamic that you want, skip it. Then I reread Elena, the first adventure, Song of the Lioness, number 1 by Tamora Pierce. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this series as a kid. I've reread it as a teenager and as an adult, and now I'm rereading it again for the read-along that Ashley from Bookish Realm and Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany are doing. They're doing the 2nd book in March. I believe the live show is on Ashley's channel, so it would be really easy to catch up. It's a very easy read. It starts when she's 11, and then the first book covers like a couple of years, which I just really enjoy because I don't want to spend forever reading like 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and now we're 3 books in. So it's really nice that there are these time jumps, and I forgot like so much. I just love all the characters, like I love them. This is a girl pretending to be a boy so that she can train as a knight. This was published in the 80s, and it's very progressive. There's like one thing that today you're like, not so great, but I think it wouldn't be what she would write if she wrote it now, and it was good for its time, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm obsessed with this series. Obsessed. Have always loved it. Yes, read it. Then I read Air, which is Bloodline Vampires number 2 by Katie Robert. I gave this 5 stars. This is the 2nd book in her polyamorous. It's been marketed a little bit as reverse harem, but it really is everybody having a relationship with everybody else. So it is very polyamorous, even though it's 1 girl and 3 guys. And it's vampires. She is a dampire, so she is a half vampire, and in the first book she is sent as a sacrifice to one of the vampires, and the other 2 show up and they escape. But now there's like complications, and they're trying to get her pregnant, because if she's pregnant she can be her father's heir, and this does end on a cliffhanger. I loved it. It's basically vampires trying to save the world via sex. What's not to love? Then I read Touch Me by Alexandria House. This is Rami Yu. I think I've seen that series name somewhere. It's not like on the Goodreads title. I gave it 4 stars. This was an artist who is in town partly for his art project and partly to meet his famous absentee father. And The friend of the main character in Teach Me is this main character, and there's like some mystical, spiritual stuff going on here. And she's like dreaming of this guy before she ever sees him, and she has a lot of resentment towards her mom for the mystical stuff, and then ends up needing her mom's help. I really felt like she was pretty late in life for having the maturity to realize that you shouldn't hate your mother because of other people's opinions about her. But ultimately, I did really like the book. There was a very spiritual connection between the couple, and it was very sweet. Then I read AntiApp, which is High Stakes #1 by Christina C. Jones. I gave this book 5 stars. I actually read like the first 35% of this in like early January, and then just stalled out because we were at conflict, and I was like, oh, it's so stressful. She's gonna hide it from him, and it's gonna be the whole book of like he could help her but she won't tell him, and she's just struggling. Turns out they fixed it on like the next page, and if I had just continued I would have been stressed out about it, but I was. But then I picked it up. I read it late into the night, finished the last little bit in the morning. It was just delightful. It is a casino owner and then a woman who is really good at some card game, poker maybe? I am not good at that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Her brother is a screw up. She has an abusive ex who is a drug lord type person. The hero also has trauma from an ex, so really good though. So there are triggers for domestic abuse, emotional abuse, pregnancy loss, and loss of a loved one. Then I read If She Says Yes by Tasha L. Harrison. I gave this book 5 stars. It was so freaking good. This is an age gap between an older woman, and she is 55, and she is beautiful, and she is lovely, and she's caring and nurturing and just an absolute delight. And it's her romance with this 32-year-old man who is the best friend of her son. And he has been in love with her since like the day he met her when he was like 19 years old, and it's been all these years and he still just wants her. And her husband is dead. He was cheating on her a lot. She's just somebody who took care of everybody else, needs somebody to take care of her. At the same time, the hero is submissive. Oh my god. I would not think that this worked for me, and let me tell you, it worked for me in a big way. He's submissive, but also a little bit take charge. He's like, no, let me take care of this for you. And I just love that. He just did everything for her. They like hook up over her son's wedding weekend, and he basically gets assigned to take care of her, and he takes that very literally. And I had like physical butterflies in my stomach reading this book. I was like, oh my god. It was so good. So good. Then I read Lionit by B. Love. I give this 4 stars. There is sex with another woman on page, and all the drama is other woman drama. If that's like hard no for you, go ahead and pass. Basically, he is a drug dealer. Oh, and they meet in like a sunflower field. Like she's lost and he gives her directions to the sunflower field, and he's just like taken by her, but he's kind of, like, he hasn't officially broken up with this other woman and stuff. And then they see each other again, and I don't know, it was very sweet. And I liked it. Then I read Take It, which is On the Clock #1 by Shay Sanders. I gave this book 4 stars. This is a workplace romance where he doesn't want to do anything with a inferior, somebody that he's in charge of, and she like works the hardest and of course just gets overlooked for promotions. And so he like really tries to help her get this promotion, and they have a lot of sex in the office. I will tell you, because I would have enjoyed it more if I knew this, they don't get caught having sex. Nothing bad happens because they're having sex in the office, so you don't have to worry about that tension, and it was really sweet. Then I read a short Sapphic Story by Alyssa Cole. It's not even on Goodreads. She's talking about releasing it as a serial maybe. I literally read it on Twitter, like she linked it. It's very short. It's of Fur and Fur. It's a female blacksmith and a werewolf. I gave it 5 stars. It was so good. I was like in such a little slump. I was like, I don't know what to read. And she just like linked it and said it was a short story. And I was like, I've never read Alyssa Cole. I've been like wanting something really short that was sapphic that I could read. And it was perfect. And it does not end with a happily ever after or really even a happy for now. The werewolf just kind of leaves, but I really hope that she does it as a serial and releases it on Amazon and stuff, and maybe you'd want to read it too. So my advice is to go to her Twitter page. Then coming off of that, I was like, oh, that was so good. Let me see what else. So months ago, I read The Stranger by Chance Christopher. So I read The Stranger 2 and 3 by Chance Christopher. The first one is 18 pages. The second one is like 27 pages. And the third one is 30 pages. So I read the second and third one. This is literally a one-night stand. The first one is a one-night stand. He doesn't get the guy's name or anything. I gave them all 5 stars. Or I gave these 2 5 stars. And then the second one, he sees him in a restaurant. And then they have another one-night stand. And then the third one, things are revealed. And I'm just like, what is happening? Where are we gonna go? And I want to read the fourth one soon. Lastly, I read Truly by Carmel Rhodes. I gave this 5 stars. This is a dark romance and you need to know what it is going into it. So the hero at the beginning sexually assaults the heroine and she did not want it. This is not really dubious consent. It's definitely not consensual, not consent. It is a sexual assault. And then somehow without making it seem like that was okay, she still makes you fall for this couple and root for them together and the obsessive love that they have going on. It does morph into consensual non-consent, but that first one, that was sexual assault. And this takes place the night of their high school graduation, so it is the summer after high school and kind of the beginning of freshman year of college. And if you're in the mood for that type of dark romance, I like having my dark romance, the darkness be kind of dubious consent with the hero and heroine. This one went all the way to full-on sexual assault. But at the same time, I like that being my dark material in the book more so than other dark options. I don't know. It was really, really good. I've heard it compared a lot to Untouchable by Sam Mariano. I know people tend to like one or the other better. I kind of do want to read both and see how I fall, but I wanted to read this one first and it was so good. It was exactly what I wanted. Obsessive, alpha, possessive, jealous, consensual, non-consent, lots of things. But again, if you cannot read the hero sexually assaults the heroine at the beginning of the book, you must be aware of that. I don't think there's any way to enjoy this book unless you pick it up knowing that's what you're getting into. So that was my February. I read a lot of great books despite feeling very slumpy. So let me know your favorite book that you read in February. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.